once I gave myself permission for things to be easy and not to overcomplicate things, then I didn't need to rebel against that anymore. Like I didn't need to sit there and go, um, like whatever, all these things that YouTubers do that I think are stupid and like unnecessary and like definitely not the 20%. Um, I didn't feel the need anymore to be rebelling against that because there was nothing to rebel against. I had permission to do only the things that matter, and it was just like, okay, so what does matter? And then it became clear to me that it's stuff like this. So I'm just gonna riff on something that I've been kind of thinking about over the past few days, and I'll give you guys a context as to why, very very soon. But I've been wondering like, hey, like why am I not able to do this thing that I really wanted to do, or at least I thought I did, um, and I just I kept self-sabotaging that thing. So I'm sure you guys can relate. This happens in business all the freaking time, especially as, you know, we go off, many of us, into this life of entrepreneurship and working for ourselves because we want to make our own time. We want to be our own boss. We want to be in charge of what's going on with our lives. And the thing that we don't realize is how freaking often we are going to be getting in our own way. This is something that I I has hit me really hard, you know, when I was because when I was working in high tech, one of the things that, you know, I really enjoyed my work. I really connected to most, you know, almost all the products that I worked on. And obviously I connected with the people, but the thing that always bothered me was like how much time waste there was and how much we are focusing on things that don't matter and how like how much how much like busy work there is in an organization that's not like super optimized, and most of them are not. And one of the things that I would always tell myself is like, hey, I'm going to, you know, when I go off on my own, I will only do the things that matter. Like I will only do the 20% of my 80/20. I'm only going to like focus every day on the thing that's going to move the needle. And obviously, as you guys can probably predict, that didn't happen at all. I spent so much time in just like zooming into things that don't really matter ultimately. You know, it's not like I did stuff that's not related to work, but it was busy work anyways. So I know, and I'm sure that you can relate, that as entrepreneurs sometimes, if not a lot of times, we have this tendency to self-sabotage and to get in our own way of just, you know, doing the things that are going to ultimately be, you know, good for us. And why do we do that? Why do we stand in our own way of the things that are good for us? So there are many takes on this, and there are, you know, the motivation and willpower people, and there are the habit people, and I mean, there's like endless schools of thoughts on like self-sabotage and how to solve it. But I wanted to bring something, I hopefully a bit new, I hope for you guys, because this is something, like I said, that's been like percolating in my mind. And finally, yesterday, I was like, oh my gosh, this is why I do it. This is why. So I'll give you guys the backstory. Um, I decided that like one of my major things about my business, one of my major setbacks has been visibility. Now, I still get clients, I still get people coming to me. I still, you know, I guess I show up just enough to be recognized with the work that I do, just enough for people to show up to me. And I run ads, which, funny enough, like don't require so much visibility. Um, and so because it's like you just make it once and then it runs in the background and you kind of don't have to think about it. It's not this like going through the fire every single time of being visible. I'm talking specifically like obviously about social media. Um, and that's been I realize that's been mostly out of fear for me. It's like, oh, there's a danger. in being visible. Like I didn't feel safe. Um, and so I wanted, one of my goals for this year was to be more visible, was to overcome that and show myself that I'm safe and everything's okay and you can be yourself and whatever, you know? And so I was like, okay, you know what? This is, and I want you to pay attention to this voice because it's important, okay? 2022 comes up. I'm doing my like annual, you know, reflection, commitments, whatever. And I say to myself, Adi, this is going to be your year of YouTube. And then I get into this super like hardcore like product manager, I don't know how else to describe it, mode of here's how we're going to do this. Over the next 6 months, you're going to get this many followers and here's how we're going to do it. You break, you know, kind of like really super like goal oriented, but like gripping tightly the goal. Now we're going to work backwards and we're going to do that. And it turned into like tons of spreadsheets and figures and numbers. And here's how many like videos you have to produce every week. And this is going to be the posting schedule. This is the filming schedule, editing schedule, like very, very fast. It turned into like this desire to just overcome my visibility issues, whatever you want to call it, turned into this massive rule book of here's how we're going to do this. And now that I'm thinking about it, now that I'm like talking it out loud, I'm realizing another thing, which is like, this is another place to hide, right? This like rule book is another place where I sometimes feel comfortable is like making playbooks rather than just doing the thing. But what happened was 1 week passed and I didn't really do it because I didn't feel ready. And then another week passed and all my kids were in quarantine because one of them got corona. And so like we're all stuck at home and I'm like, well, I can't record anything now because there's always yelling children around here. Like, how am I going to do this? And the only time they don't yell is at night. And at night, I don't have any natural sunlight like I do now, which it's not perfect, but you know. And I can't use the ring light because glasses, you know, you guys have seen the videos where I use the ring light. And all this bullshit. And so finally everybody's back in school, no more quarantine. I have no more excuses. And I'm just like, okay, fine, just going to do it. I'll have 1 cup of coffee and then I'm going to do it. So I have my coffee and then I'm out of excuses. I set up my tripod, I set up my camera, I set up my mic. It takes a long freaking time because nothing is set up the way, it's the first time, it's the first time. So obviously it takes time. And then I need to edit the thing and then whatever. So fast forward to today, I still haven't uploaded that video, but it is cute. I am going to upload it. It is queued up and everything. And I'm just thinking to myself, and I found myself like throughout this week thinking, God, this shit is hard. It's so much work. And why? And then something in me started to rebel against my own rule book. And I was like, what? Like, why should I put out a YouTube video every week? Like, who the fuck cares? Why? Says who? Like, you're not the boss of me. Like, I don't need to do that. I make my own, like, I'm a free spirit. I make my own rules. This is literally why I left my job, is so that I could make my own rules. And I'm not going to do that because look at all this time waste. Look at all this time waste on getting the words just perfect and getting the editing cut just so. And don't get me started on like little whiz bangs and animations and bells and whistles and things that I'm actually not going to put in my videos because I think it's crap. But at least at the moment of this live stream, I think it's crap. I think it's a distraction. And I started reasoning how, so much of making a YouTube video is actually a distraction. I don't want to be a YouTuber. I just want my message out there and to overcome my visibility crap, right? Like, that's what I want. That's the goal of all this. And then I realized something super critical. and this is how I think about it. I'm sure there are different ways to look at it. Some people like to think of it as masculine, feminine. Some people like to, there's just all sorts of ways. But the way I look at it is there's kind of two forces inside me, and they can either work together in harmony and each kind of contribute from what they do best and what they bring to the table best. And when that happens, I'm in flow. When that happens, like everything is everything is working out for me. When that happens, when I'm in harmony of those two parts in myself, it's just like those really great days, where you're just doing the right things and saying the right things, and you're always at the right place at the right time, and you're talking to the right people, and things just happen, things just go your way. And when they're not working together, and there's some kind of competition, or there is some kind of mismanagement of boundaries between the two, then that's when things start getting out of whack. And so for example, I think what happened here was, and this is what I started asking myself, is like, why am I rebelling? Because it's me, right? Both of these parts are me. Why am I rebelling against myself? Where is this coming from? Why? I mean, I wrote this rule book with a goal in mind that's ultimately supposed to serve me. So why is the rebellious part of me so offended by the rule book? And then I realized, like there are, it all relates to these different parts of me. The one that was offended by the rule, I'm just checking if you guys, if this is actually working. One second. Okay. Like the one that was offended by the rule book is the one who is who like is open to inspiration and is super free spirited and just goes and like doesn't know doesn't know is not a good, like, actually knows, is the one that knows what to do next, but doesn't articulate it, doesn't explain it, doesn't make a rule book out of it, just does. It just knows and flows and knows and follows. And the other part of me is the one that has the staying power, the one that says, okay, if this is the direction that we want to go in, here's how we're going to do this. Here's how we're going to make sure that it's going to be good for you. Here's how we here's how we protect your energy, and here's the best way to actually execute towards the direction that you feel that we should go, that that we should go. This is how I see as the roadmap. And what I realize is that, once again, that part of me that is like the project manager, right, wasn't really honoring the free spirit, the visionary, right? And to go even deeper, the visionary in me wasn't honoring herself. It was like, oh, like, we should do YouTube. YouTube seems cool. And then there was no boundary there was no decisiveness. There was no, I know YouTube is the thing that we should do. No, the thing that I knew was I need to do more things to overcome my visibility issues, to overcome, to be more visible. That's what I knew. And I didn't leave the space to really let that visionary in me decide the direction of how we're going to do that. Like, where are we going? And the project manager stepped in too early and was like, okay, YouTube, here's how we do, blah, 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 blah. And then, like, enter binging a bunch of like YouTube tutorials on blah, blah, blah. And fast, you find yourself at like 1 a.m. binging a 1 hour video about YouTube keywords and SEO, where it's like, wait a second, is this the thing that really matters right now? Like, is it the thing that really matters? No. and like ironically, it's been like more than a month since I decided that I need to become more visible, and I've been virtually invisible, not going live anywhere, not showing up, not posting even as much because I'm too busy planning and fighting the plan at the same time, if that makes sense. Okay, um so what I want you to do is like think about this in your terms, right? If there's something in your business, because I love to share like what's going on in my life, but I know this, like, you guys are watching this so you can figure out what to do in your life, in your business. So first of all, if you have any questions about ways that you've been sabotaging yourself and how you can fix it, examples that you want me to like address, then just say so in the comments and I'll try to help you as much as I can. But other than that, I want to like talk a little bit more generally about how you can apply this to your life and your business. Is whenever you find yourself not doing the things that you know that you should do, or not even if you're not clear on what you should do, not giving yourself the time to get the clarity, the time and space to get the clarity. I want you to take a breather, literally a beat or two, and think of yourself as these two parts, the visionary and the project manager. And is it possible that your project manager has overstepped the project management, whereas like this is how we carry out the vision, right? But it's ultimately serving the vision. And it has overstepped that boundary and become more of a slave driver, where you're like, whoosh, this is how we do it. I don't care about the vision. This is how we do it. And it's like, it's no longer related to the vision. Okay, so just ask yourself these questions and figure out, is that what happened? Is that something that is going on with you? And if it is, you can give yourself some grace, first of all. And once you find that, like, where's this relationship within you out of balance, you can start taking the steps to fixing that, right? To repairing that imbalance and get back into harmony where everything's going to flow. But another thing to think about is just like, especially if it's something, I mean, it's hard for me to think about examples for you because obviously I don't know your situation, but I'll give you an example of like what worked for me is, well, okay, this is getting to be a little bit overwhelming. How could I accomplish what my vision wants with it being easy? Like, what would it look like if it were easy? And once I gave myself permission for things to be easy and not to overcomplicate things, then I didn't need to rebel against that anymore. Like, I didn't need to sit there and go, like, whatever, all these things that YouTubers do that I think are stupid and like unnecessary and like definitely not the 20%. I didn't feel the need anymore to be rebelling against that because there was nothing to rebel against. I had permission to do only the things that matter. And it was just like, okay, so what does matter? And then it became clear to me that it's stuff like this, right? So going live, or for example, a couple days ago, I felt super called to talk about imposter syndrome. It happened to be on International Women's Day. I don't know if it's related, could be, but it was like one of those things where I couldn't not do it. Do you know those things where like you feel so called, so pulled to do something that it's almost like you're being shoved towards doing it. Obviously I have a choice, right? But it was one of those things where I was literally on my way out the door and I was like, I need to do this first. First, I need to open up my phone, record this thing that's been on my mind about imposter syndrome and upload it to fucking LinkedIn. Whereas like, as far as I know, is not really the like correct medium for these like impromptu live streamy type videos. But I did it anyways because I don't know. That's what felt not, not just like the right gamble at the time. It felt like I needed to do that. And the reason I'm telling you this is because that hit of inspired action and the ability to follow through with it within literally 10 minutes, because the video itself was like 7 minutes maybe, and maybe 9, I don't know. It wasn't super short, but it wasn't really long like this either. And then like another 2 minutes to upload it, right? Because super, I don't know, LinkedIn or my internet or something there is super slow. But either way, 10 minutes that it took me to do that, to upload it, versus a month that it took me to record a YouTube video, which isn't even up yet. Yeah, there's a stark difference between the two. That's not to say YouTube videos are bad. That's not all what I'm saying. You want to do YouTube and you feel inspired to do YouTube, do YouTube. The things that I'm being called to right now is to make more content like this, more, and like what I did the other day, where it's like a little bit more spontaneous, a little bit more authentic, a little bit less polished and edited, and then maybe making some kind of edited frame around it and uploading that to YouTube, which is like explaining what they're about to watch. And I think that if I'm thinking about like my 80-20, right? Like what's the 20% that's going to yield 80% of the results, then it's that kind of thing, because you can get sucked, or at least I can get sucked into like near infinite detail and refinement and like rendering resolutions of how to make the video better, whereas better for YouTube. Whereas if I just do this kind of thing and then pop it up there, it might not be optimized for the platform, but it will still put my message out there. It will still be, it will still accomplish what I am trying to accomplish. Okay. So that's what I have for you. And again, I just want to put a big, huge red flashing disclaimer that I'm not saying YouTube is bad. And I'm trying to think of an example. Like, okay, let's say you do want to be a YouTuber. Like that's what you want to be. You're not trying to do the same thing that I'm not trying to be a YouTuber. But if you are, then it could be that all those little things, all those details are super important to you. And out of those, you will have to sift out the 20% that matter, right? Which is probably like, like content keywords, titles, and thumbnails off the top of my head. Like I think those are the things that matter most, and audio in terms of quality. So yeah, I hope this was helpful. This is the kind of stuff I'm thinking about these days, and I would love it if you let me know what other things you want me to talk about, because clearly this isn't just about raising your prices. This is about all the things that we deal with as entrepreneurs, trying to grow, trying to up level, trying to rise above, whatever level we're at right now, and reach the next one and the next one and the next one. So let me know, and I will talk to you guys next time. I love you guys. I hope you have an amazing day. And